Steve Jobs had a very successful life, and today in this video, I'm going to go over the untold truth about Steve Jobs' come-up. Welcome back to Luxury Kings, let's get into the video. Number 5, hide the Porsches. Software engineer Randy Adams initially turned down Steve Jobs' offer to work at Next, the computer company started by Jobs after his ouster from Apple. It was 1985. Adams wasn't ready to go back to work after selling his pioneering desktop software publishing company. Within a few days, Jobs was on Adams' answering machine. "You're blowing it, Randy. This is the opportunity of a lifetime, and you're blowing it," Adams reconsidered. Adams, using some of the cash he'd earned from the sale of his company, bought a Porsche 911 at the same time Jobs did. To avoid car door dings, they parked near each other, taking up 3 parking spaces between them. One day, Jobs rushed over to Adams' cubicle and told him they had to move the cars. I said, "Why?" And he said, "Randy, we have to hide the Porsches. Ross Perot is coming by and thinking of investing in the company, and we don't want him to think we have a lot of money." They moved the cars to the back of Next offices in Palo Alto, California, and Perot invested $20 million in the company in 1987 and took his seat on the board. Adams recalls the time Bill Gates showed up at Next for a meeting. The receptionist downstairs called Jobs, who sat upstairs to let him know Gates was in the lobby. "I could see him sitting in his cube, not really busy, but he didn't get up or call Gates up. He left him waiting in the lobby for an hour." That speaks of their rivalry.
So it's parked quite far apart. And one day I was working at my desk and Steve Jobs came to me and he said, "Randy, we have to move the Porsches." I'm like, "Why, Steve?" And he said, "Well, Ross Perot is coming and
Number 4, scuff marks in the mini store. In his first public appearance after revealing he had surgery to remove a pancreatic tumor in 2004, Jobs met with reporters, including me, at the Stanford Shopping Center in Palo Alto to unveil a new 750 square foot mini store design, half the size of the Apple retail store. The mini featured an all-white ceiling lit from behind, Japanese stainless steel walls with holes around the top for ventilation that mimicked the design of the Power Mac G5, and a shiny seamless white floor made with material used in aircraft hangars, Jobs said at the time. Before the curtain draped across the storefront came down, though, Jobs was having a meltdown, refusing to step outside and greet reporters. Why? Because the store design that looked so great on paper didn't stand up to real-world use. The walls showed off every handprint, and the floors had black scuff marks from the handful of people readying to store for the big reveal. Jobs was ultimately convinced to step outside, and the curtain was drawn. When I saw the floor, I turned to Jobs, standing next to me, and asked if he had been involved in every aspect of the design. He said yes. It was obvious that whoever designed the store had never cleaned a floor in their life, I told him. He narrowed his eyes at me and stepped inside. A few months later, an Apple executive told me that Jobs had all the designers return to the store after it had opened and spend the night on their knees cleaning the white surface. After that, Apple switched to the stone tiles now prevalent in its designs. Number 3, they'll get used to it. Andrew Seen recalls a double date he had with Jobs a few months before the iPhone was unveiled. In the fall of 2006, my wife Laura and I went out to dinner with Steve and his wife Lorene. Sitting outside the restaurant on California Avenue in Palo Alto waiting for a table to open up, Steve pulled out his personal prototype iPhone out of his pocket and said, "Here, let me show you something." He took me on a tour through all the features and capabilities of the new device. After an appropriate amount of oohing and awing, I ventured a comment. BlackBerry aficionado as I was, I said, "Boy, Steve, don't you think it's going to be a problem not having a physical keyboard? Are people going to be okay typing on the screen?" He looked at me in the eye with that piercing gaze and said, "They'll get used to it." MobileMe, an email system which would provide seamless synchronization features similar to the BlackBerry, Jobs reportedly doled out a half-hour of public humiliation to the team responsible, saying, "Can anyone tell me what MobileMe is supposed to do?" Number 2, blunt but with a taste. Guy Kawasaki, Apple's chief evangelist and liaison to the Mac developer community, Kawasaki was working in his cubicle after the Mac was introduced in 1984 when Jobs showed up with another guy. Jobs asked Kawasaki for his opinion about a program from a Mac developer called Nowhere, which was short for the knowledge software company was made. I tell him what I think, which is extremely negative. When I'm done, he turns to the guy. He looks back at me. He says, "Guy, this is the CEO of Nowhere." He had a lack of hesitancy to hang his employees out to dry. That's indicative of Steve in general. If you're a Steve fan, you say, "See, he knew how to cut through all the bull." If you're not a Steve fan, he lacks social graces. Even though he treated people like this, the reason he got such great people to work there, unlike most bosses, is that he appreciated the great work. There are 2 components to giving employees great feedback. It takes someone who has a taste to know when you did great or lousy, and it takes someone who's blunt enough to tell you. There are plenty of people who don't have taste but are blunt. If you want to do something great, you can do it at Apple, but there's a cost. Public humiliation. Something like this could never have happened at HP. On the other hand, you couldn't do your best work at HP because there is no one there to appreciate it. Where would you rather work? Apple or HP? No.
They don't think of original ideas, and they don't
bring one a Christmas story. McKenna met the 22-year-old Jobs when he drove up to his house on a motorcycle and talked about how he wanted to build Apple into a global brand. McKenna sat in on Apple executive meetings from 1983 to 1987, and the two remained close. In 1998, my wife and I bought 5 iMacs as Christmas gifts for our grandchildren. We watched them open their presents, and when the 5-year-old Molly opened her iMac, she said, "Life is good." Unfortunately, Molly's iMac developed a problem after a few hours. The dealer said he was not authorized to exchange it for another one due to an Apple policy. Repair would take several weeks, he said. I sent an email to Steve and asked him about Apple's return to exchange policy. Within minutes, my phone rang. It was Steve. He asked what the problem was and the name of the dealer. "I'll call you back," he said. A few minutes later, the phone rang and it was a very apologetic dealer. "I have a new iMac here for your granddaughter," he said. I emailed Steve thanking him and assuring him that he made my granddaughter's Christmas a happy one. Steve immediately replied with a simple ho ho ho. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen, so I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.